Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We're recapping the week's nerdy news from the planet Hoth to Winterfell and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
How we doing, buddy? After some wonderful technical difficulties, thanks for anyone joining us. Here we are. We figured it out, hopefully. Let us know if something's up. Otherwise, welcome to the show.
If you can't hear us right now, or you can only hear one of us, or you're watching live on YouTube, if something, I don't know, just send us a message and let us know if something's weird, because I'm trying out some new techniques this week and hit some stumbling blocks. But we're here. Thanks for waiting for us. Here we are. Hopefully the podcast audio version sounds okay.
Seems to. I think we're good.
We're going to dive right in because I just got confirmation via text by my wife that it is working. So we're up and running. So we have a ton of stuff to talk about. It seems like the executives at Marvel heard my comment last week about them not being able to release as much news sometimes as DC because they do all their stuff in huge drops at Comic-Con, and then all their news is out for the next 4 years. They heard me say that and said, well, we got some stuff to show you. They dropped the story we're talking about today is they dropped the trailer for the Eternals, just Eternals, not the Eternals. It's a movie, comes out November 5th, directed by Chloe Zhao. I'm going to throw this to Steve. What do you think about the Eternals trailer? You're a big Marvel guy. Thoughts, predictions, feelings. I have them, but I want yours first. Go.
Fair. So first things first, I liked the trailer. It was not what I was expecting. I don't think I've read any of the runs of the Eternals outside of there was one. Yeah, whatever. I only read one set of the Eternal books. Yeah. I mean, there's been a number of runs, but it's, I don't know. It's a weird feeling for a Marvel movie. It's a weird feeling for a comic movie. I don't know exactly what they were going for with the trailer, but whatever it was, it looks like it's going to be well worth a watch. And with Chloe Zhao at the helm, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't have really a ton of knowledge about the Eternals as characters. I've read a couple single issues here and there. But honestly, the characters themselves aren't super interesting to me. Just like a race of eternal gods, been here forever, I guess, is the general. It's just not I'm not into it. Like if you're immortal, then where are the stakes? And if the stakes have to ratchet up to the point where, an immortal god can be killed easily, then how interesting is this? I don't know. That's kind of my opinion. It doesn't mean that they can't make a great movie. For me, this is like a wait and see movie. Guess kind of like how Guardians of the Galaxy was, except the first trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy really worked for me and made me want to see it. And this is still all right, I guess I'll wait and see. I will say that it looks beautiful. It looks like Chloe Zhao is an amazing director and knows what she wants and is great at, if you saw Nomadland, great at shooting huge scenery, just wide lens photography and capturing the beauty of a landscape, which this trailer certainly showed off. And I hope there's a lot of that in the movie. And I get what you're saying where it doesn't look like a Marvel movie. For me, that's okay. I know Marvel does use a lot of green screen stuff and, CGI backgrounds and things like that. I really liked seeing sweeping landscapes that were clearly shot in camera. That looked great, and it did look different, which is good for me. For me, the MCU after a while did start looking more homogenous, I guess.
Yeah, very much so.
For me, and some people like that, some people don't. And I love all those movies. Oh, I don't love all of them, but I love a lot of those movies. And even the ones that I really like, it's kind of oh yeah, it kind of looks like the same as the last few that I saw, like visual style anyway. And that's because they're a brand, they're an in-house thing, and they know what they want. But I do like that this looks different as far as the plot is or how it ties into everything. How much is it going to tie into everything? I guess that remains to be seen. How did you feel? It almost felt like the end of the trailer, when there's the button of the trailer is them asking who's going to lead the Avengers. Like, that felt out of place for the rest of the trailer.
You know what it felt like? It felt like the shawarma scene in like the stinger at the end of the original Avengers. It was just like thrown in there, and it really didn't fit. And I don't know if it was, I don't know, because like you said, it was an extremely aesthetically pleasing trailer. With Zhao at the helm, it's going to be a aesthetically pleasing movie. She's going to shoot what she wants and how she wants it. But like, if the hook is weird shtick comedy like that, then I'm with you. It's going to be a miss for me.
It felt like in the trailer that it felt like we're giving you this grand, epic seeming story, but that the button at the end seemed like, don't worry, we're still in the Marvel universe. Right. Don't worry, fans. This does connect to Iron Man somehow. Don't worry. It felt like forced. It felt like the studio was like, put this in the make sure you put this in the trailer.
Right.
So
yeah.
people
like
know.
Find a way to people. Yeah. Find a way to people to get people to know that they're still looking at a Marvel movie, not just some random like epic of some proportions.
Right. Yeah. So I'll be interested when we get maybe a more detailed story trailer to kind of see what's up. Like, say we've never interfered, despite also saying that they have helped humans learn and prosper. So it's kind of interfering, right?
Well, it's a weird situation. Like there's that many people they're adding to the MCU at once. Like when have they gone into that that breadth of introductions and had it succeed? Like I don't think there's been any point.
Right. I think besides the Guardians of the Galaxy,
right,
which gave us 2 movies before they tied into the Avengers, Earthbound Avengers. I think that's it. Besides Guardians, like if they were going to, and it's introducing that many characters with little to no audience built-in familiarity with these characters. I think because they're like they're
C or D list.
Eternals, exactly. Yeah, Eternals has never been an A-list book. They're not Spider-Man. They're not X-Men. If they were introducing the X-Men, then you could get away with more.
Right, like even Thor, Iron Man, Cap.
The concept is so different.
Right. Yeah, like Thor, Iron Man, Cap was all B-listers, but at the same time, like even people with a passing knowledge still knew who they were. They may not know, the ins and outs of Tony Stark's struggle with, whatever Tony Stark is doing at the time. But they at least know, okay, Iron Man is a thing. The Eternals, it's like nobody, similar to how Guardians probably was for a lot of people, where it's like, well, who are they?
Yeah. So we'll have to see what the next trailer brings, what the movie brings. It's only coming out in November, so we don't have too much longer to wait, really.
Right.
It's crazy that we're getting so many Marvel movies before the end of the year. We're still getting like 4 Marvel movies. It's crazy.
And TV shows. Because Hawkeye and Loki are both this year too, so.
Yeah, you're right. It's crazy. Unbelievable. But speaking of Marvel, kind of Marvel adjacent, yes, we should say.
Right, we'll go with that.
Another huge piece of news this week was that Aaron Taylor Johnson, Quicksilver himself, Kick-Ass himself, has been cast as Kraven the Hunter in a standalone Kraven the Hunter movie. Sony Pictures. Sony, of course, owns Spider-Man and all of his adjacent characters, villains, and sidekicks, or whatever have you. Yeah. They, of course, loan the character of Spider-Man to Disney and Marvel, so Spider-Man can show up in team-up movies and Avengers movies, but Sony owns the rights to the character. They own the rights to all of the side characters, like I just said, so they can make movies like Venom and Morbius and Kraven the Hunter as much as they want without Marvel's involvement.
Yeah.
So Aaron Taylor Johnson was cast. There has been rumors about Kraven appearing in the 3rd Spider-Man movie as the main villain. There have been rumors about him showing up somewhere. There must have been rumors about a standalone Kraven movie as well. I guess I just didn't think that was something that was going to happen. Clearly I was wrong. The rumor was that he beat he beat out people like Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves, John David Washington, and Adam Driver. Now, I don't know if that means that they were actually offered the role or they were just kind of thought of for the role.
Right.
But it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I think that is a good fit for this character. Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's as much. I think we beat to death over the last couple of weeks the, especially at the Venom episode, the my thoughts on the anti-hero or like standalone, like between Morbius and Venom, and now this, it's like Sony is for some reason trying to cash in on all the villains of Spider-Man, when I think you said it best, where those villains aren't anything without Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man is what makes them what they are.
I don't understand why you wouldn't just put Kraven the Hunter in a Spider-Man movie and give him to us that way.
Right.
Like, that's why we like these villains, because of the threat they pose to the hero that we care about. Like, we talked when we saw the Venom trailer in the episode 1 of this podcast. We talked about the Venom trailer, and wouldn't it be much better? Like is there a comic reader that wouldn't prefer the Venom movie to have had Spider-Man in it? I don't think so. Is there a comic reader that wouldn't prefer to see Kraven go against Spider-Man? I mean, sure, there's probably some, but I don't know. I just don't get, especially, and I know I mentioned this in episode 1, so I'll be brief, but especially if Sony owns the character of Spider-Man, why aren't they allowed to do whatever they want with Spider-Man? There's got to be some contractual thing that, like, yeah, you own him, but only Disney can use him. That doesn't make sense. Right. That doesn't make sense. Like,
you own him, but Feige has the say of, are you going to screw this up? Because if you are, we're not going to let you make it.
Yeah, because I just don't understand why they wouldn't be making more. I guess Tom Holland is only one person and has a schedule of things he wants to do outside of Marvel movies.
Yep.
But still, I don't know. I was head of Sony Pictures, I would have introduced Miles Morales to be the Spider-Man of our Marvel adjacent universe, and you would see Miles Morales going up against Venom, Kraven, and all these characters, Morbius, whatever, and done it that way. And then you can still have a multi-dimensional crossover. Yeah, I would much rather see. I will 100% watch this movie, and I hope that it's great. I want it to be great. I think he could be great in the role. He's a good fit for it. But similar to some other news we got this week, I would prefer the villain to be a villain and not necessarily reinvented into like an anti-hero in his own movie. And the other news I'm referencing is, of course, Todd Phillips confirmed that he has been signed to write a sequel to Joker, which was rumored after the first Joker came out and made $1 billion and won an Oscar. And this is another thing where, like, that movie was pretty good, I guess. Joaquin Phoenix was great in it. It didn't really feel like Joker to me, the character that I love. Personally, it's my opinion on that movie. And I would have rather seen, some kind of better attachment to Batman in that movie. So, I don't know. I would rather see the villains be villains and the heroes be heroes. But that's just me. And we'll see. Maybe this movie will change my mind.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right on that, though. Like, Joker was a good movie, but it wasn't a Joker movie. Like, you could have changed, the background on Phoenix's character, and it would have been a completely fine movie. It wouldn't have probably raked in $1 billion because it didn't say
would not
Joker,
have made $1 billion, yes.
But it probably still would have won an Oscar, and it probably still would have done whatever. Like, it
would have been an art house movie versus a blockbuster.
Right. You would have seen it at Cannes instead of, showing up on summer blockbuster daily.
And, people have different opinions about that movie. Some people love it. Some people think it's the best version of the Joker. I remember some people saying, like, oh, I didn't really like when they were, like, the comic book tie-in stuff with, like, the young Bruce Wayne and Thomas Wayne stuff. I didn't really like that stuff. I was like, yo, that was the reason I was there, was the comic book tie-in stuff. This is a comic book character. Right. I want to know. The only reason I care about Joker in the end is his relationship as an antagonist to Bruce Wayne. As the same reason Venom, Kraven, Morbius, all these villains, like, I just want to see him go up against the hero that I care about. So, I don't know. Well, clearly we were in the minority when it comes to Joker because it made $1 billion and Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we don't know what we're talking about. But
at the same time, with the Kraven news, one thing that would have made sense, if you want to do a villain movie, do a Sinister Six movie.
Ah, yes. And are they doing a Sinister Six movie, Steve?
I think they are rumored to be, and it may be that No Way Home might be
Might be
the
that
move
movie.
that way.
Yes. Moving right into our second Spider-Man related story. Jeff Snyder from Collider. He's one of my favorite movie critics and writers, despite really disliking all the nerdy movies that I really like. I think he's good at his job, which leads me to believe he might be right about this. He said that he had heard a rumor. He said this on his podcast, appropriately titled The Snyder Cut, that he heard a rumor that the title of the third Spider-Man movie for Disney, or for Sony, but working in conjunction with Disney to get Tom Holland in the role of Spider-Man, it's called No Way Home, and that he heard that the title of No Way Home, everyone for months have been speculating that, they're doing a Spider-Verse movie where they're going to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and it's going to be the three Spider-Men teaming up to fight all these villains that they're bringing in from other multiverses. As you know, it's been confirmed that I'm blanking on his name, Jamie Foxx's version of Electro, or Jamie Foxx is going to play. That's been confirmed that he's playing Electro in the movie. It's been confirmed that Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2 is going to be in it. So
wait, it was confirmed that Molina was going to be playing Doc Ock?
He confirmed it. I don't know that he was supposed to, but he talked about it in an interview that he's playing.
I always love when those happen. It's just like, shit, there goes that writer on my contract.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jeff Snyder said that he heard a rumor that No Way Home title refers to the villains and not to Spider-Man, where it will be the villains that are coming in from other universes, the Sam Raimi movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and that the big get and the lead villain of No Way Home will be Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and that he will team up with Electro, Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Rhino, and Lizard to form Sinister Six. So that's the rumor. It's also rumored that we're going to get a trailer for this tomorrow, which doesn't seem super out of the ordinary because this movie's coming out Christmas time. So it's possible. Steve, what do you think about this rumor? How do you think it's possible? Do you think it's accurate? And how do you feel about this idea for a movie in general, if it is what we get?
I think it could be possible. I think it could be feasible. I think using Sinister Six is it's how we've had this many Spider movies without an actual Sinister Six setup is mildly amazing to me. But
I keep rebooting it.
Right.
They didn't reboot it every 3 years.
and now, after all these reboots, they do finally have enough villains to pull it together. Those six are, there's been so many different villains in the Sinister Six at various iterations. It's, you can pick whoever you want, but they've used all of them in the various multiverses. So it seems like it could have legs. Yeah. And if they can make it work, that'd be cool. I don't know about Dafoe's Goblin. I thought it was okay. I thought he played a better Norman Osborn than he did a Green Goblin. So I'm curious, especially pulling in Sinister Six, if it's going to be Green Goblin heavy instead of an Oscorp type situation, whether that's going to be whether that's going to work for him. So that's something we'll have to see.
Yeah. I think it's super possible, I guess. There's no word on this rumor, despite Jamie Foxx being confirmed as Electro, Alfred Molina being confirmed as Dr. Octopus. There's been no confirmation whether the likes of Thomas Hayden Church, Paul Giamatti, or Reef Ions, I can't remember how to say his name. The guy that played Lizard. I think. Yes. There's been no confirmation whether those guys are going to reprise their roles or they're going to be new ones, but no, it just seems like they're bending over backwards to, if this is, I'm going to say again, this is a rumor, it might not be true. If this is the case, it seems like they're bending over backwards to get a Sinister Six when that's bigger than it I don't know how to say this. I feel like they could make a Sinister Six movie almost with the villains that they've introduced in the first two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. You got Vulture, you've got Shocker, you've got Scorpion.
Yep.
Or the guy
Mysterio.
that plays Scorpion was introduced. Even like Tinkerer was in the first movie, and then you got Mephisto. Like there's other. I mean,
Mysterio. Mephisto's its own
Mysterio.
thing.
Yeah, Mephisto. Yeah. No, I think he really was Mephisto. That's a joke. Mysterio. Yes, thank you for correcting me.
WandaVision was playing the long con. All right.
Yeah, but do we really think that Mephisto's or Mysterio's dead? Like I don't. That's up in the air. So and. I think that, why not just introduce a new Norman Osborn and get those guys together and do a Sinister Six? It seems like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I like street level Spider-Man more than I like multiverse Spider-Man or, going into space Spider-Man. So hearing all the rumors that we've heard over the last year, more or less, about it's going to be multiverse and they're bringing in all this and Tobey Maguire and blah, 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 all this is like a little like, okay. I'd rather just have like a good street level Spider-Man movie. But again, that's me. I'm sure I also love Spider-Man. So I'm sure if they do this and they do this well, it could be great. But it runs the risk, I think, of bogging down the movie. I think are they banking on audience familiarity too much? And I think it seems like they could be doing that instead. Like they're not introducing a new Dr. Octopus or a new Green Goblin because that would take time. They're like, what if we just cut out the middleman and give you one that you already know, so we don't have to do the work. Yeah, it's like, well, I guess that's a good idea, but it's also kind of lazy. So like, where else are you being lazy in other places in this movie production? I don't know. It just sends like a signal of like, I don't really know what this is going to be like. But again, if there's a trailer tomorrow, blows me away, I could completely change my mind about this. So I don't really know. Also, just real quick, I don't remember the guy's name, but a Sony executive gave an interview where he said that there is a plan to connect the Sony universe to the Marvel universe. And if there is a plan, why isn't that this movie? Why why aren't they reaching into other characters that are, that already exist in the same timeline? It doesn't matter. If you're doing multiverse, you can grab from anywhere, I guess, but
at the same time, like you said, the multiverse thing, yes, it worked into the Spider-Verse, but at the same time, like there's a whole plethora of friendly neighborhood stuff you could go with and leave the big arc stuff. Iron Spider was awesome to see. It was great that it was in a team-up movie. Like, leave that stuff for the team-up movies. Spidey can go help wherever he wants. Otherwise, Peter Parker needs to go hang out in Queens and do his thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I do also want to say Into the Spider-Verse, one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. So when I say I'm anti-multiverse Spider-Man, I'm not saying anything about that movie that's bad, because I love that movie. Yep. But that's also maybe because it's animated. Maybe I get some break and the animation was incredible. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. This, if there's a trailer, it could completely change my mind on this. But just don't. I guess I'm wary of it.
Right.
Because it seems like it seems like a lot more than they need to be doing. But Sony hasn't always made the greatest Spider-Man choices in the past. So we will see. Sticking with Marvel for a little bit more, we got a bunch of Marvel TV announcements this week. We got Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin himself, cast in a new role in the Secret Invasion TV show for Disney+. We got Oscar Isaac finally officially confirmed as Moon Knight for a Disney+ series.
That is the worst kept series in comics, by the way, or in comic movie adaptations. Like, I think he's been rumored as Moon Knight for 2 years now?
Long time. It's been a long time. I think since like a month after they announced that they were making a Moon Knight show, people were like, it's going to be Oscar Isaac. And also we got some kind of weird channel, no official announcement, but like an agent confirmed to somebody else that Denai Guerrera is going to be returning to the role of Okoye for a Disney Plus show. But there's not a specification as what Disney Plus show that was going to be. So let's tackle these one by one, Steve. Christopher McDonald in Secret Invasion. They said it was going to be an original character, but one that was going to be important to the future of the MCU, including the films. Do you think he's a villain? Do you think he's a Skrull? Do you have any predictions at all? And what do you think about him being cast in this show?
They left it as vague as they possibly could. I don't think I don't think they could have said less about it outside of the fact that, Shooter McGavin is
He was
now
in
in
it.
the MCU. The 1990s Happy Gilmore kid in me is happy for this. The Buffalo Bills fan is happy for me in this, but other than that, I have no idea what he could be or where he's going to fit, or they didn't really drop any clues. I mean, he could be like the awkward sidekick type guy. Like, who knows? It's just, it's a completely new role apparently, so.
Yeah, I think he could easily be a Skrull.
Yeah.
He could easily be a villain because I think he's known. I think he's good at being a villain. He's played villains before. We keep referencing Shooter McGavin, but I don't think that's the only time he's played a bad guy. But it could be a thing where, because it's purposeful casting, because we do associate him as being a bad guy, maybe he turns out to be a red herring and he's not the bad guy.
Right.
Who knows? But being an original character, they really could go anywhere with it. It's not like they're giving him a name that leads us on a certain path of speculation. We can clearly go anywhere with it.
We just know he's not going to be Super Skrull. So.
Yeah, that's true. He could. You never know.
Yeah. So.
Oscar Isaac is Moon Knight. I love Oscar Isaac, and I think that he's going to crush this. I'm not super familiar with Moon Knight. I know that it can be an interesting but complex character, multiple personalities, jumping around between them. And I know that's only kind of one version of the character, but it's also one of the more well-known versions of the character. He's kind of got a muddied backstory. It's again, trusting in Feige and trusting in Marvel. I'm sure they're going to kind of knock this out of the park. And Oscar Isaac's great. What do you think?
I think it's, for one, it's the perfect cast to wipe the stench of whatever he did as Apocalypse off of him in the Marvel.
Oh my gosh. Right.
He literally, in that entire movie, there was that one speech he gave as Apocalypse where it was like, this is Apocalypse. And then the rest of the movie was like, okay, what are you doing? Well, I guess the rest of the movie, not just for Oscar Isaac, but for everybody, it was just like,
everyone
okay,
involved in the movie. Right?
Yeah. But Moon Knight, like you said, it's a funky character. It's definitely, Marvel is digging deep at this point, and they're bringing out some extreme, like Moon Knight's a huge fan favorite. There's a lot of people absolutely love a lot of the runs, and it's a very complex character, and he can. I think if anyone's got the chops to do it, Isaac can pull it off, as long as he's got the writing behind him. So,
thing I'm most excited to see about a Moon Knight show is how they do a all white costume.
Yeah,
how they translate that to being intimidating, to have it look
right,
like feasible. Like, why is he dressed in a completely all white costume? Like, what does that gain him? That's going to be a little bit difficult to transfer, I think. But again, we've seen weirder stuff pop up in Marvel movies, so I'm sure they can do a good job.
Right, but a guy with three identities who is like tied to, or subservient to Khonshu, an Egyptian god, that is also a fully white suited crime fighter dude, superhero.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll pull it off.
Yeah, I've heard him described as Marvel's Batman to me, which makes me, I'm like, okay, I'm on board then.
Sign a lot of the Spectre personality is very Batman-y. He throws like boomerangs and like very, very styled after what Batman, like at least the physical nature of Batman and what he did. There's some different stuff going on between, rich playboy that turns into Batman at night and all this whole thing versus guy with schizophrenia that also turns into crazy crime fighter at night. So we'll see how that goes.
And I don't know if you saw this, but I think I saw it on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. They released a footage of Oscar Isaac fight training, and they didn't say what it was for, but everyone was like, this is Moon Knight, right? Because we all know that he's playing Moon Knight. If you haven't seen that, check that out, because it is it's all one take. He's like bouncing around this workout facility or training facility, like doing all these moves and fighting in camera. It's all one long shot. It's really great. And if that is this kind of fighting style they're going to show on this show, like Marvel's Daredevil level, one shot kind of fight scenes, that I'm all in.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, jumping back to the Spider-Man thing, that's another thing that was rumored to be in Spider-Man 3 is Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock as Daredevil.
Perfect.
Like, that's been rumored too. So that just, again, leads to my theory, like, wow, you're introducing a lot of stuff here. Like, is there going to be enough room for a movie? Okay. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. I was literally just
going to say I'm fully on like the petition for Charlie Cox to still play Matt Murdock.
Oh yes, 100%. If he shows up in that movie, I will lose my mind in a good way. I want that part to happen no matter what else is in the movie. I'll walk out smiling because of that for sure. So Denai Guerrera said to be returning to the role of Okoye in a Disney Plus show. This has got to be the Ryan Coogler Worlds of Wakanda show that we heard about that was announced a couple months ago, right? It must be.
Yeah, that's I can't unless they're giving her some leeway in something else.
I mean, I think it must be at least that.
Right, exactly.
What I mean.
Yeah. So
I mean, if they're going to do a Worlds of Wakanda show, obviously. Sadly, Chadwick Boseman's not going to be around to be in that. They definitely need to anchor that show, I think, with characters we've seen before. And we don't really know anything about that show or what it's going to be. But I think Okoye is a natural character to head up a show like that or to lead a show like that. And whether or not, Shuri ends up in it as well will remains to be seen. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I think it's going to be at least this show, and certainly she could easily pop up anywhere else.
No, definitely. And it'll be interesting. That show in general, they're bringing back Okoye. I'll be curious who else from the original Black Panther shows up. Whether it's the full ensemble, like
Angela Bassett.
Well, yeah, Angela Bassett would be. I guess there's no real limit to what Disney Plus is going to throw at people for, like, look at all the casting for all of their shows. So there's really, like, you can get Angela Bassett for a TV show, no problem.
For sure.
But like even all the bit parts from all of the other Wakandan tribes, who played T'Challa's best friend there that turned on him. He's an Oscar winner now. I cannot remember his name.
Dude, if you hadn't asked me, I feel like I would have known his name. Daniel Kaluuya.
Kaluuya. Yep, there you go. I was like Daniel something. Like his paycheck probably went up a couple notches over the last couple of years.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
It'll be interesting to see where they go with that show in general, and I mean where they go with Wakanda Forever in general. Now that T'Challa is been said to be written out of it effectively. I think Coogler said he's going to address the passing of Boseman and as such T'Challa and move it on. So
Martin Freeman has said recently that he has read the script for Wakanda Forever and said that it's very good and is respectful of everything.
Which random side note, Howard University named their College of Arts and Sciences after Chadwick now. So it is now officially the Chadwick Boseman College of Arts and Sciences at Howard.
Saw that. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Do we know if the show or the movie is coming out first?
I think the movie, but don't hold me to that.
Okay. Well, I feel like either way, there's going to be clearly set up. There's going to be something.
Yeah.
The movie that ends up in the show or the show that ends up in the movie, whatever comes first.
Yeah, the mental Rolodex of all 7,000 Marvel things going on is like, they're somewhere.
I know. Yeah. The title Worlds of Wakanda to me also almost makes it seem like it could be like an anthology show where every episode deals with like a different segment of or a different person in the country or a different tribe in the country or something like that. Like, and it jumps around. So maybe Denai Guerrero is only in one episode or something. Like, you never know. It could. I mean, that's certainly something they could do, and it's a way to introduce a lot of characters that then the next time we see them in a movie or something, we're like, oh yeah, we know this guy from. Whatever.
Yeah, no, that'd be one way to take it. That it would fit the mold and still leave enough space for them to develop the entire nation. too.
Yeah, I mean, it's an entire country. Exactly, it's an entire nation.
Right.
So there's clearly so much that they could do that you or I or anyone has never thought of, outside of Feige and Ryan Coogler.
Right.
So
Be a
we'll
fly on the
see
wall in those
what
meetings.
happens with that. Outside of Marvel TV, thought we had a lot of DC TV updates last week. You thought, oh, there can't possibly be any more DC announcements for television coming, but you're wrong. We got an August premiere date for Titans Season 3. We got a series order for DC's Naomi at the CW, and we got more Sandman casting announcements for the Netflix adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Sandman. So I will start off by saying really like the show Titans. I thought season 1 was okay, but I thought season 2 was great. I'm very excited about what they've announced for season 3. They're bringing in Tim Drake. They're bringing in Barbara Gordon. They've talked about bringing Jason Todd in as Red Hood. And the end of that season 2 kind of teased a bunch of other cool stuff. So I'm excited about this. They didn't say a specific date, but they did give us an August premiere date.
Right.
Steve, have you seen Titans at all or heard anything about it or have any
but as
opinion
soon
on
as
Titans whatsoever?
No, but as soon as I read this casting, or this like news, I was like, that actually seems intriguing, and I may have to go back and check that out. So
yeah, it's worth it. Being yourself being not as big of a DC guy as myself, you might not bump into some of the things that I bumped into on season 1. We have a mutual friend of ours who is not into nerdy stuff or comics at all, watched both seasons of it and loved it and was texting me like, this is amazing. Have you seen this show? I was like, yeah, I saw it, 2 years ago. But he loves it. So, it's certainly something that appeals to comic book fans and non-comic book fans simultaneously, which is great.
Well, if it's a good show in general, I can probably sell it to the wife and, get it on the TV at some point.
There you go. CW orders a series order for DC's Naomi, which is a character. Naomi is a character that was created by Brian Michael Bendis when he was writing Superman for DC. He wrote a side book called Naomi that introduced this character. The show is produced by Ava DuVernay, and Naomi is a character from a different world that is like ruled by mortal gods or attacked by immortal gods or something, and she escapes that world into our world, discovers that she has these like godlike powers as well, and so I assume that's going to be the basis for the show as well. Right. CW has been pretty faithful to comic book adaptations, and so it's notable for that. It's notable for being produced by Ava DuVernay, who was gonna give us a New Gods movie once upon a time, and that got canceled very unfortunately. And this brings the total number of DC shows on the CW network back up to 7. Although Supergirl and Black Lightning are ending this season, CW is showing no signs of being sick of adapting DC Comics characters into shows. Yep. Do you have any thoughts on this, Steve, as far as, I don't know, have you seen any of the CW shows at all?
No, I've never seen any of the CW shows, but I did actually pick up the first couple of issues of Naomi when that dropped. Nice. Well, I'm a big Bendis guy. From his runs on Spidey and everything he's done for Marvel, it was like when he bounced to DC, it was like, oh crap, we lost one. And I mean, it's Bendis. Like he puts out good stuff. Like he's always been quality. So I picked up the first, I think, 2 or 3 issues of that when it dropped. I think 3 years ago. It was a pretty new run, and it seemed intriguing. I just never quite followed up on it, but I definitely would tune in for that. So
she's also in the new Justice League book currently that's also being written by Brian Michael Bendis.
Nice.
Gotta be nice to be like, yeah, I'll write Justice League if I can bring in a character that I created and put her on the Justice League, despite her only being around for 2 years.
Right.
Which is notable that she's getting her own show. She's only literally has only been around for, I think, 2 years. I think it's really been 2 years, and all, she's already being adapted into a live action series. Like that's got to be one of the quickest creation to film adaptation or live action adaptation
Yeah.
ever, I feel like.
Yeah, it's got to be
So,
up
so I'm excited for that as well, but I'm more excited about the Sandman casting for Neil Gaiman's Sandman Netflix adaptation. This week they announced that Kirby Howell-Baptiste will be playing Death, Jenna Coleman will be playing Joanna Constantine, David Thewlis, I don't know how to say his name, will be playing the creep John D, and Patton Oswalt will be the voice of Matthew the Raven. This is in addition to a bunch of other people that they announced. And all these people will be joining Tom Sturridge as Dream, Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, Boyd Holbrook and Charles Dance are in the cast as well. This is a incredible cast.
That's a high-flying cast.
Yeah, for what I hope is an incredible adaptation of an incredible work. And I'm comforted by the fact that Neil Gaiman is very involved in the production of this show itself.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, about this casting, or are you excited for the Sandman show?
Actually, quite excited for the Sandman show. Again, didn't read the source material. Have heard nothing but good things about the source material.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm like, have had it on the wish list. Well, similar to, a couple other books. It was on the wish list for a while, and it's just like, one of these days I'm going to get around to, getting some sort of omnibus or whatever of it and just binging it. Similar to what I ended up doing with Mr. Miracle the other day, with King's Mr. Miracle. When I sent you that still, it was like, yeah, I'm just going to finish this all off.
Yeah, so good. I have not read the entire series. I'm about halfway through, a little over halfway through. I think I'm on volume 7 out of 10, the original run. And it's one of those things where, like, I have just a stack of stuff to read that's so high I can't possibly get to it all the time. So, like, I feel like I buy I buy a Sandman book like once a year and like read through it. I'm like, okay, next year I'll get to the next one. So I'm working my way through. I'm super excited about this. I think if you look at the pictures of the people that they're casting, if you've read the book, they're like, wow, these people look like the characters that they're casting. Like, they're doing really great work. Nice. A lot of idiots that haven't read Sandman were mad that Jenna Coleman was cast as Joanna Constantine, saying, like, why do they have to make it a woman? Yo, wake up. Joanna Constantine is like the great grandmother of John Constantine, and she's in the books. Like a real thing. God. Don't get mad about what you don't know about, people.
I love idiots.
And you know what? Even if they made John Constantine a woman, that would be awesome, and I would still watch it anyway, because that's great. But she's good. I loved her on Doctor Who. Yeah. I eventually loved her on Doctor Who, I should say. That's not her fault. I think I don't know. I'm really excited about this in general, especially if they're really doing an adaptation, a real adaptation of it. It's just going to be weird and dark and creepy and scary and fun at the same time. And it's going to be a ride, and it's going to be different than a lot of people are expecting. The people that haven't read the book but are looking for, like, oh, it's based on a comic book, I can't wait to see what this is about. And I think they're going to be surprised at what it is. And I'm very, very excited about it. And Steve, if you ever want to borrow any of my Sandman books, I got them right behind me on this shelf here, bud. So you let me know.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, digging into, Steve, tapping into a new multiverse right now that we haven't talked about yet. We're going to Westeros with this next story, my friend. Talking about Amanda Segel being hired to write the Game of Thrones spinoff 10,000 Ships. Amanda Segel is the writer. She's written episodes of The Good Wife and Stephen King's The Mist. She's been a producer on Hellstrom and Person of Interest. And 10,000 Ships she's working on. This is the third Game of Thrones spinoff that's in development, along with House of the Dragon and 9 Voyages. Steve, what do you think about this announcement, this show, Game of Thrones spinoffs in general? Where are you at? You were a big Game of Thrones guy, right?
I was a huge Game of Thrones guy. Actually, they're all sitting right there.
More than
books.
Me. Yeah, you've read the books, yeah.
Yeah. Like I read the books in the middle of Alaska, waiting to get back to a Barnes and Noble from the middle of the woods to get the next copy because somebody had turned me on to them when I was working up there.
There's a story.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And I just became enthralled with them. And then season 8 happened. But I mean, there's a rich backstory. Martin did a great job of building that world. After what happened with the show, I don't know how many people are amazingly excited to jump on the Game of Thrones train again. I know.
Okay, that was my question. Is do people still care about this? Because personally, again, I haven't read the books.
Yep.
So I don't know. But you know what? How many people? I feel like there's got to be a fair share of people that were into that show that didn't read the books.
Oh yeah, a ton.
So I don't know how much interest there is in 3 spin-offs of a show that did not stick the landing in the majority of people's eyes. But for you, someone that did read the books, you're saying that you personally are still interested in the show.
It's one of those where like no, it's the definition of I'm gonna watch it and see how it goes. Like I'm definitely not sold on the fact that it's a Game of Thrones spinoff. The 10,000 Ships is based on like Princess Nymeria that one of the direwolves was named after. And it's like a legend, and I don't know how much Martin actually had built around that, or whether they're just freeforming. And we all know how well things go when they freeform in this world. So yeah, I don't know, like any of it, even the Targaryen spinoff that's going to be dropping soon. It doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for me unless
they're filming House of the Dragon right now, right? That's
they're in the middle of filming it, and it's like, if you'd have asked me this 3 years ago if I was excited for it, I would have said hell yes, like all about it, all in. At this point, I'm like, okay, cool. Like it'll be good to expand the world. Like if they nail it, then it's going to be great, and if not, then we're kind of screwed. Like whatever, just you guys spend more money on it and call it a day.
I was gonna say, it's not that we're necessarily screwed.
Right, they're
it's
screwed.
that they've already committed to 3 shows.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that they didn't start making at least one of these spinoffs while Game of Thrones was still on, because now they even announced them before the series was over. I don't remember. I think it was after the series was over that they even announced spinoffs, or maybe I don't know. Maybe they announced them during the last season, but it's not.
Yeah, House of the Dragon. I think they announced prior, and then the other 2 just kind of
okay. But it's not like we've been waiting for this show for 3 years.
Yeah,
like you were saying. So I don't know. It reminds me of something that you and I talk about all the time. It reminds me of Avatar. They made this movie over 10 years ago, and they keep promising us 5 sequels or something. It's like, I don't know that anybody really cares about this anymore, guys. You're sinking a lot of money into something that, the audience might not be there. But if book readers are more interested in this stuff, and, that'll be the same as the original show. There'll be some people that start watching it. Book readers will start watching it. And if the buzz is good, then it'll can build up. But you thought of something while I was talking. What did you think?
I forgot already. No, it was the timing on the announcements. What it was they announced there were going to be spinoffs prior to it ending, because I remember there being a bunch of buzz about what it could be, and where they were going to go with it, and none of these 3 were I guess House of the Dragon is in the ilk of what people were kind of calling for, but the other was like going back to the First Men and the the whole history of them coming to Westeros and interacting with the Children of the Forest and all that mess, and like where the Night King became the Night King, and that had had garnered a lot of interest, and that didn't show up in either of these. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
it's crazy to me that they didn't announce a spinoff during season 5 of Game of Thrones, when it was like at its peak, and then you get the people watching Game of Thrones to start watching the spinoff at the same time, and the spinoff keeps going after the original one's gone. I don't know.
Breaking Bad.
I don't run a network
type.
Yeah, Breaking Bad style.
Yep. So, speaking of Breaking Bad, here's to J.J. Abrams and Star Wars. I don't know. That was a horrible segue, but accurate nonetheless.
I think we should make all of our segues completely non sequiturs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On. Speaking of this, here's this one. So yeah, Steve, I think we should try to talk about this without letting the conversation devolve into a I don't know. I could talk about Star Wars for an hour without breaking a sweat, and I think you can too. We've been doing this podcast for almost an hour already, and we try to keep these to roughly an hour.
About
so
an
we
hour,
should try to not get too involved in this. And this is interesting because I mean, you and I are friends. We've been friends for a while, but I wouldn't say that we're like crazy close to the point where I know all of your nerdy opinions on everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's only more recently that we've really discovered the nerdiness, the nerdy connection in our friendship, I think. And now we're diving into it. So we did ever have, Star Wars can be a touchy subject for some people. And I don't think that you and I would ever really have a fight about anything because we're both civil-minded folk. But you never know who's watching this on the internet that could come with some snarky comments. So,
I was thinking like actual fisticuffs.
Okay,
like 20 style boxing.
You and me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, if that's the case, I need to make out my last will and testament because you would murder me, my friend. Okay. Completely not controversial at all. Name in the world of Star Wars. J.J. Abrams gave an interview this week where he discussed the importance of having a plan when you start a project. Now, this is was asked in reference to the Star Wars sequel trilogy that famously was started. J.J. Abrams made Force Awakens. They brought in Rian Johnson to make Last Jedi, and then they brought J.J. Abrams back to make Rise of Skywalker. And apparently no one thought, hey, wait, why don't we map out this trilogy and, pick some beats along the way, and we're going to start here and we're going to end here. Now go forth, ye filmmakers, and make this thing, look at this blueprint and make us a trilogy.
Right.
They didn't do that. And there was some shuffling of ideas and plans along the way that many people blame on the, how fans reacted to some of those choices were not desirable by the filmmakers or the studio. So a lot of people blame the lack of a plan. And so J.J. Abrams was asked in relation to Star Wars, you think it would have been better to go in with a plan for all three movies? And his answer was very diplomatic. He did not mention Star Wars directly in his answer. He did not mention any specific movie. He was talking in general. When you make a movie, he said it is better to go in with a plan, something set out. So a lot of people are taking this as an admission of wrongdoing by him or by Disney or by Rian Johnson or whatever. Was he throwing shade at Rian Johnson? I don't know. How do you interpret this quote? Do you interpret this quote? And do you agree with it? Do you, tell me. Talk to me, Steve.
Need a moment of zen here. Okay. No, it's kind of the first public acknowledgement of them not having a plan.
That there wasn't one, yeah.
Right. So it's like the sequel trilogy was originally supposed to be Abrams kicking it off, and then Johnson, and then Colin Trevorrow with whatever the third was going to be. Apparently, after like you mentioned, after Last Jedi, there was a bit of a U-turn, and JJ got put back at the helm of the new one, and they made whatever the hell Rise of Skywalker was. I don't, in all honesty, I don't really put that on Abrams. Like, he's done plenty of good work. He's also had some hiccups.
Sure.
But like that's as much on him as it is on, Kennedy and the rest of the Lucasfilm creative team. Like there 100% should have been a plan. Like you don't go into a trilogy and say the original trilogy, Lucas had, you could tell he didn't have a plan by where it went.
Exactly. Okay.
But, like after you've had that, and then you've had the prequels, and then you've had everything else that's happened with Star Wars over the years. Like it's it's beyond not having a plan. You need to know where the hell it's going. Um, maybe not a full-blown Feige roadmap of how you're getting to Infinity War and Endgame, but like, give me some broad strokes. Like Bob Ross painting happy little trees somewhere. Like, give me something. It just seemed like it was so hectic and helter-skelter that it was like it turned into a mess.
I mostly agree with what you just said. I tend to blame J.J. Abrams a little bit more for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, you're probably right.
What you just said, and I agree that I know that they should have had a plan, but for me, it's shocking that they did not have one.
Right.
And of course, they're probably going by like, oh yeah, George Lucas, he didn't have a plan for the originals, and they turned out fine. I feel like he probably had a plan for the prequels because he knows where he's got to go. You know what I mean? Like that in itself has an end point. You know, Darth Vader's got to walk out at the end of this third movie here.
Right.
So, but again, that was probably broad strokes. He wrote all three of those movies at once. So I don't know. It's surprising to me that they didn't have a plan. It being, living in the times that we're in, and Marvel had already gotten off the ground at that point. We had already gotten an Avengers movie, so like you could see like, oh, it's having a plan really help out. But that's being said, I think it still is possible to go in. If you're hired to make third movie in a trilogy, whether it's J.J. Abrams or any other, Colin Trevorrow or whatever, you have two movies to look at. Say like, okay, these are the plot threads that I have to go with, and you can continue them in a sensical way.
Right.
So maybe it seems like they have a plan, but Rise of Skywalker to me doesn't seem like he's picking up those natural plot threads and going in the direction that felt like they were pointed in. Whether or not you like Last Jedi is a very controversial movie. Whether or not you like Last Jedi or not, whether or not you like Force Awakens or not, I think there was a way to come in with a third movie, could have elevated both of those films, all the flaws in those two movies, or made them stronger in some ways, like Clone Wars has done with the prequels. It figures out a way to elevate the original material. I think that could have been done. Is that all J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio's fault? Maybe a lot of it is because they wrote that movie. But they also had fired a guy who was deep into pre-production. Colin Trevorrow already had a script and was ready to shoot, and they fired him and then didn't change the release date.
Right.
Similar to what happened with Solo. They fired Lord Miller and they bring in Ron Howard. They don't change the release date, so Solo suffers from that. At least in the box office it did. Like, I like Solo a lot, and I think it's a little hodgepodge of a movie, but there's definitely like and that was admitted that Bob Iger, who was in charge of Disney at the time, like he was the one that was like, no, we're not changing the release date of Solo. We are making this movie come out. It's like, well, Ron Howard is remaking 80% of your movie. Maybe you should change the release date. Maybe you should have bumped the release date of Rise of Skywalker, because the script for Rise of Skywalker to me felt like a first draft. They didn't cut anything out. They didn't rewrite it, and they didn't take a second look to be like, oh, maybe it makes more sense if we don't do this. Maybe it makes more sense if we do follow, any character arc.
Literally anything from Last Jedi.
Again, whether or not you like those movies or not, I think it would have been possible for a director to come in and say, okay, this is where we left off, and this is what I can do going forward. And I think you probably would have gotten something more than that if they had gotten any director in the world other than J.J. Abrams, because he was so close to material. He'd made Force Awakens, and he had his ideas for what he thought it was going to go, but just because Rian Johnson didn't have those same ideas, it really feels like to me that he came in and was like, well, how can I still do my ideas?
Right.
Instead of saying like, oh, this is what Rian did. I need to start with a completely blank piece of paper and go from there. It seems like he didn't do that.
Well, and weird.
Could be wrong. I don't know J.J. Abrams, but who knows? Yeah. That's how it seems to me.
Weird take on that. I almost think that, and like you said, it's a good bit of Abrams' fault. I was trying to sugarcoat it a little, just not to throw him completely under the bus. Which
I get it, and because you never know, it could have been. Lucasfilm loved Rian Johnson, and loved Last Jedi. They were singing his praises like crazy until the movie came out. And it's not that they disavowed him or said anything bad about the movie, but they announced before Last Jedi came out that they gave him his own trilogy, and we haven't heard anything about that in a long time. It doesn't seem like there's any movement on that. Like, until there was fan backlash against The Last Jedi, that was like the smoothest production they'd ever had. He was on schedule. He was under budget. It was just like, they were like, wow, we love working with this guy. Let's give him a trilogy. And so you never know, like, how much was JJ's idea, and how much was either Bob Iger or someone higher up, Kathleen Kennedy, who knows, saying like, the fans don't like this. You need to retroactively make this happen, or you need to change it. You need to make this. You need to make this. She's got to be related to somebody. You know, like, who knows who told him to do that? And maybe it was him. Maybe it was somebody else. We don't know. Maybe someday we will. But I'm sorry, I cut you off for a digression. You were saying that it may be not a good amount of maybe JJ's fault, but never know. Did I just take your point? Crush it?
Sure. Sounds good. You nailed it.
Sorry, bud. Sorry, buddy. I will maintain, until I hear otherwise, I will maintain until the day I die that the only person in the entire world, J.J. Abrams is the only person in the entire world that could watch The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi and say, need to bring Emperor Palpatine back. Like, where that came from, 100%. I can't think of another person in the world that would have thought that made sense to do in the third movie.
Yeah. There's, all those threads of literally Rey being no one and none of that. And then it's like, by the way, we're going to bring your grandfather back, who happens to also be the dead emperor who's on crazy cloning life support that brought another supreme leader into whatever. It didn't make sense. None of it did. I will stand by the fact that I'm a Last Jedi stan. What can I say? It was a great movie. Yell at us if you think otherwise, but I think we're both out there on that one.
This is like, we're getting close to you just talking about Star Wars, or us talking about Star Wars for an hour. So I will say that regardless of how you feel about J.J. Abrams, one person that really likes him is John Boyega, who played Finn in the sequel trilogy, recently said that he would return to the Star Wars universe and to the role of Finn if J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy were both involved in the project. So whether or not whether or not we like the movies, or anybody likes the movies that J.J. Abrams made for Star Wars, John Boyega clearly really liked working with him and liked how, liked the experience enough. He didn't say that about Rian Johnson, which is interesting.
Yeah. It's weird as to where Finn went in Johnson's movie versus where Finn went in Abrams' movie, because he kind of
liked Last Jedi. I don't love Last Jedi. I'm mixed on Last Jedi, and part of it is because I don't think it delivers on the promise of Finn that was set up in Force Awakens.
Right.
I think it's that storyline. It's not that it's a terrible storyline, but it's a little bit weak based on what was, how he was set up, I think, in Force Awakens. Again, that's just my opinion. I also don't think that JJ really did much better with him in Rise of Skywalker. So that's why I'm surprised to hear that he seems so devoted to JJ. It's like, maybe Rian Johnson didn't give you the best character arc, but like JJ didn't like rescue you with Rise of Skywalker. Like, you're still just running after Daisy Ridley and yelling for her pretty much the entire movie. Like, you don't have anything that's really that interesting that you're doing. So I don't know, maybe he just liked, everyone in Rise of Skywalker, I'm sure, went in knowing the trouble behind it, went in knowing like, okay, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we're just going to have fun making a movie. So maybe that was the attitude on set, and so they enjoyed it. But here's my question for you. In what capacity, if the character of Finn was to return to the Star Wars universe, in what capacity would you like to see him return? Movie, TV show? Wait till he's older, or you want to do it right now? Like, what time frame? What do you think? What would be your opinion on that?
On the spot, Give him a TV
That's
show.
not something we've talked about. I just thought of that question right now. Yeah.
Give me a TV show right after the events of Skywalker as to what he's, he literally was he's Force sensitive. Where is he going with this? What are the trials and tribulations of newly realized Force sensitive Finn going to be? Or give me the 30 years down the line when he's second in command at the new Jedi Academy or whatever. No matter what, just give me more John Boyega as Finn. It was a great character.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of Daisy Ridley as Rey. I like that character a lot. Again, I don't like everything that ends up happening with her necessarily.
No, but her and
like
her portrayal of it.
But I don't like how they got there, I should say.
Yeah. Her and her portrayal of it are definitely high points. Whereas what the arc did with the character, one way or another, wasn't always necessarily the smoothest road.
Right. But I would love a Rey training Finn project, whether that's Disney Plus show or it's a movie we get 10 years from now or whatever. I feel like there's no way that they're not going to go back to these characters when they announce episode 10 at some point 20 years from now. You know what I mean? That's just inevitable. Whether we see them for that, I would love to in any capacity, really. But I would love a Rey and Finn going on adventures. Well, even if it's like an animated version, I would like to see the character of Finn and Rey return in some capacity.
I'm all in.
All right, so I think we did it. I don't know how many Star Wars nerds we offended by that, but
probably
we
most
don't have
of
the biggest audience yet, so we could probably drop some hot Star Wars takes right now and get away with it. Maybe we should, before this really blows up, we should do that now. Get it all out of our systems.
There you go.
Yeah. We did have some cool comic book, saving comics for the end, saving the best for last. We did have some cool comic news this week. DC announced a new Superman versus Lobo series for the DC Black label, written by Tim Seeley and Sarah Beatty. They're creators of the very not safe for work series Money Shot for Vault Comics, which is a super fun and funny, but also, again, not safe for work.
Not safe for work.
Yeah, it's going to be written by them and drawn by Mirka Andolfo. And I don't know, it sounds cool. These are two characters classically clash with one another. Superman being Superman and Lobo being a intergalactic mercenary. And apparently it's going to be the two of them running into, or being challenged by an angry god of some kind. And how they deal with that. And so it's going to be some kind of seemingly going to be like they have to team up in order to do something, but they don't like working with each other. So that could lead to a lot of conflict and humor and some cool moments, I think. So
come on, those two aren't polar opposites or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they've clashed before, but I think giving them their own miniseries is a fun idea. Yep. And again, the writers, I've only read a couple issues of Money Shot, but it is very funny, and they definitely know how to write humor. So I think this has potential to be brutal, but also, I don't know, really fun and funny at the same time.
Nice.
We also got official covers released for the much anticipated Batman 89 and Superman 78 books that are coming. These are comic books, Batman 89 based in the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton Batman universe, Superman 78 based in the Richard Donner Superman movie universe. Yep. So I'm very excited about this. The cover for the Batman 89 featured Billy D. Williams's Harvey Dent. So I'm very excited about that story arc, that the one that has been living in my brain ever since I was 10 years old. Very excited to finally see that. Although he did get to play Two-Face in the Lego Batman movie, which was a brilliant piece of voice casting, nice. I believe. And also a Marvel announcement that I don't know a ton about, but Steve's really excited about. Marvel announced a book called Inferno, which is a new X-Men book written by X-Men expert and scribe Jonathan Hickman, who's been the lead on all the X books, right? Or most of them, right?
Since the relaunch, when they relaunched House of X and Powers of X, or
a year or two
Powers
ago.
of 10, whatever it ended up being, Hickman was kind of the architect behind it all. He had his run on the Avengers and stuff in the past that, I mean, Hickman, if you want weird, Hickman is your guy. And
Yeah.
he definitely succeeded with this relaunch of the X-Men. But he's taken the run, like the main run, in places that I wouldn't have expected the X-Men to go. And this is his new, like, he's off the main run. He's off of the couple others he was helping with. I don't know if Dugan is still on, whatever. He's taken over and relaunching this Inferno, which is going to focus around, I think, Magneto, Emma Frost, a couple others. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, just to see where Hickman takes it. So it's kind of his baby, and this is the next iteration of it.
Nice. Well, yeah, X-Men books are always a trip, and regardless of how weird and crazy he is as a writer, he certainly has a vision for the characters and the world in general, being able to launch and write all these books and deal with so many X-Men characters at the same time.
You could say he has a plan.
I hope he does. And J.J. Abrams also hopes he does, apparently. So we also got more the Heroes Reborn event at Marvel. Are you following that at all?
So
or I don't know too much about it, but
it looks like they're expanding it into a couple other books and into a whole different subset of books. But if you haven't been keeping up with Heroes Reborn, it's effectively what would have happened if the Avengers weren't the Avengers, and Squadron Supreme ended up as the main, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Which, if anyone who doesn't know Squadron Supreme, they're literally Marvel's knockoff of Justice League. Like, when you look at like
shot know that shot. At all, and I saw some screenshots of it, and I was like, are these new characters that are blatant Justice League ripoffs? And you set me straight. No, it turns out they're old characters that are blatant Justice League ripoffs.
Yeah, like, you nailed it. They're shot for shot Justice League ripoffs, but they've been around since, I can't even remember what decade they were brought about in, but it's like they've been around for a while as like this background, secondary, tertiary, like D and E list team that was just kind of there. And not Kieran Gillen, Jason Aaron actually took the helm, and it's almost like a what if type situation, which Marvel has done phenomenally with, and they're doing a TV series of. But it's kind of what if the Avengers weren't the Avengers and these guys were the main group. So it's been an interesting run. I've gotten a couple issues on Marvel Unlimited, but apparently they're relaunching a couple of the new, like, I think 3 new books or three new Splinter books off of it. So it's it's something to keep an eye on if you want something outside the normal Marvelverse.
Cool, man. Yeah, we also got a new Something is Killing the Children, Volume 2. Yep. Second run started this week. And we also got a new issue 10 of Tom King's Strange Adventures. Came out this week. Dropped a huge bomb if you guys are following that. Make sure to pick that up. If you haven't read Strange Adventures, you should figure out a way to do that, or wait till it comes out in a trade, because it is incredible. So check that out. And that's about all I got, Steve. You got anything else for this week?
No, I think, along the trade dropping lines, Once in Future by Kieran Gillen, saying Kieran Gillen made me think of that. The 3rd volume of that's going to be dropping soon. I think the issues have been ongoing, but I think that's in June, along with the 3rd volume of Something is Killing the Children. So it's going to be a good month.
You've been singing the praises of Once in Future for a long time. I haven't dug into it yet, but you've been...
Yeah, if you
about how great it is for a while.
If you like Arthurian legend, check it out. It's a different take on it. That's really cool.
All right. Well, cool. I think that's a wrap on issue 3.
Indeed.
Going right?
Yeah, 3 sounds right.
All right. If you were watching along, thank you very much for listening on the podcast. Thank you very much. Steve, you're better at the outro than me. Can you do the
Yeah,
whole-
make sure you like, subscribe. If
is.
you are subscribed, make sure you ring the bell so that you know when we go live. Catch us 9:30 every Sunday night. If you want, we're live here on YouTube. You can watch us on replay on YouTube or check us out on any of your podcatchers. We just search for the Multiverse Report. Same thing on Twitter at Multiverse RPT. And, we're here. So we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Happy Memorial Day.